again, fight fans. I am Jason Burgos for SureDog.com, and with me is one of the faces of one championship. She's currently the one Atomweight title holder and will make her second foray into the strawweight division for the promotion in the co-main event of Friday's Masters of Destiny event. That talented pugilist is the newly turned 23-year-old Angela Lee. Angela, happy birthday, and thank you for giving me some time just a few days away from your big fight coming up on Friday.
Thank you so much for the birthday wishes. And yeah, I'm excited. It's just a
We
few
have a
days
lot to
away.
talk about, and I want to talk a bit about the Jingnan fight and the rematch coming from that. But first, I wanted to talk about competing at strawweight, which you will do again in a few days. Like I mentioned, we are in a time where fighters are realizing more than ever tough weight cuts are not beneficial for them. Yet there are some that are just optimal weights at a lower weight class. At this point in your career, is atomweight still your optimal weight, and then maybe you're feeling like as you continue to mature and fill in with your body athletically, straw weight's gonna come sooner or later? Or is this kind of like going back and forth, just a thing for fun, and you're just liking the opportunities that come with it?
So right now I think that I'm in a stage where my body's still allowing me to go back and forth in between
Mm-hmm.
divisions, but it is getting something that's harder to do, especially with one championship's rule set for their weight cuts and
Mm-hmm.
hydrations. So that makes things really difficult. You can't cut any water, you have to be fully hydrated, which means you pretty much have to diet down to that weight. And that's a really tough thing to do. So obviously I'm still the champion of the atomweight division, and I will have a fight scheduled at the end of the year to
Mm-hmm.
defend that title. Um, so I'm gonna just, prepare as best I can for those few months, make a good strategy, a good descent plan, and try to do it healthy.
Now, and I wanted to ask about that, and you just kind of brought it up too. It's a dieting difference. Like, so what are the specific differences for Angela Lee at atomweight and strawweight? Is it truly just a nutritional thing? If you're at strawweight, you can eat a lot more. Like I talked to Sarah Kaufman a few weeks ago, and she's like at lightweight now for the first time in her career. She talked about she could have more carbs and proteins and stuff like that. Is that the difference for you? You can just eat a little bit more, and maybe like instead of 3 times, it's 5 times a day. Maybe you can lift more. Are those the differences for you, since you just mentioned the hydration protocol, and one really limits you from cutting too much?
Right. So I guess it's where your natural body weight is set. Um, for me, I'm usually in my 30s. So, but if I'm fit, if I'm eating right, if I'm exercising, then it's probably like high
Mm-hmm.
28s. So then getting to 25 is really like optimal for me, and it's where I feel my strongest. It's where I'm not depriving myself, and it's great. I love fighting at 125. But getting down to 115, I mean, I have two younger siblings who are 13 and 15, and they are both far from 115. Like they're the same weight as me right now, and
Wow.
I'm freaking out. So, it's a tough thing, and especially when exactly like you have to be fully
Mm-hmm.
hydrated. I just have to limit my portions more and more as it gets closer to the fight, and then really up that cardio. So it's not really fun. It's a
And
sacrifice for sure.
for example, like and I always think about BJ Penn was a guy who moved around a lot during his career and stuff like that. But his optimal weight, like he fought his best at 155. Do you feel like from your experience so far? Do you feel like that still is atom weight? It's still your best weight in terms of your performance, or did you feel things, in that one fight at, not to get too much into it, because we'll get into the details of that, but it just on a basic level, fighting at strawweight, did you feel like the same fighter?
I felt good. Honestly, like I was happy about the weight cut, about not the weight cut, but the weight descent. I felt like I could focus more on training, more on the strategy. So yeah, the weight wasn't an issue. A lot of people are saying like, "Oh, she's too small for this division," but no, I feel like this is my natural division. I feel very comfortable in it. But I always felt like I did have a slight advantage in the atomweight
Mm.
division because I was willing to sacrifice those extra pounds. So it's kind of a give or take.
Now, and I always love talk because I like to talk to fighters for one and give time to one championship and everybody. There's always doubters here in the U.S. and I'm sure you might have counted it yourself. You're based in Hawaii and stuff like that. There's always questions on the weight cutting, the hydration protocol, and I always like to give fighters a chance. Have you ever in your time with one ever felt anything odd or not on the level or not on the up and up with the hydration protocol? Everything, every time you've dealt with it and dealt with them, it's always on the up and up, and it's always to keep everything on an even scale and fighters healthy.
It's very regulated, and it actually, because I was with One Championship before they
Mm.
implemented the rules for the
Mm-hmm.
weight cut or the weight change. So um, before that, everything was the same, but then after that, it was kind of tricky because um, you don't know what can mess up your reading for a hydration test. You can feel hydrated, but if you took in caffeine or some kind of vitamins, it can mess up with your readings too. So you really have to just keep your body
Hmm.
very clean, drinking lots of water and flushing it out. It's a much more healthy way to do it. I mean, I think that, weight cutting isn't necessarily bad if it's a
Mm-hmm.
few pounds, but if it gets out of control, 10 plus in a few days, that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
unhealthy for anyone. So I think it's been a lot better, and I think the fighters are a lot happier. I just came from breakfast actually, and I see a lot of fighters there being able to eat, and that's so unheard of, right?
Yeah.
So it's a cool thing that One Championship did.
Now you lost, your first, like I mentioned before, your first fight at strawweight, but no shame in it. You lost to, you were leading the fight early, and for most of the fight, you lost to the current champion there, and you even had a pretty deep armbar in the fourth round that, in a fight, like I said, you were winning fairly clearly, but Xiong was able to get you into the last round and stop you first before we get into like the finer nuances of what happened in the fight. Was that loss the first of your career in a very still young career? Was it a difficult thing to get past and get over?
Yeah, it was. I didn't feel like myself for a
Mm.
few weeks, and I just felt like I was doubting
Mm.
myself, and I was really just, like, man, it sucks. Losing sucks, and it's like the first time in my
Mm-hmm.
professional career and amateur career. So it was a tough one to get by, but I'm trying to, like, everything that happens in my life, I try to look at it in a positive way. So even if I had to take that loss, I'd rather take it
Mm.
now. Well, I'm young in my career, take it as a lesson, and I think that this loss is gonna enable me to, or it has enabled me to train harder and find a new motivation to train and
Mm-hmm.
improve myself. And yeah, I'm really excited. I'm super pumped for Friday. I think that a lot of my hard work is gonna show in this
Are you
fight.
taking this fight with Michelle Nicollini because on a level other than it's a fight offered and it's a chance to make money, a chance to get out there and compete, but is there on some level it's a chance to like exercise the demons at strawweight considering the loss? Is it like to prove to yourself and to the industry, look, I can fight at strawweight and I can be fantastic at strawweight just like I can at atomweight?
Um, the thing was after the fight in March, I didn't really take too much physical
Mm-hmm.
damage. It was more like, mentally trying to get out of this funk. Um, but I wanted to just get back in there as soon as I could and kind of like dust it off and have a fresh start. Because I was super motivated to train and just hungry to get back in there. So when they offered me this fight, I
Mm-hmm.
jumped on it and I said, yeah, let's do it. So I probably signed it that day.
Now going back to one last question on the Jingnan fight, the announcers during the fight mentioned that they felt, they just in their opinion, that in the fourth round when you went for the armbar you might have tired yourself out. Was there some truth to that? Did you maybe fighting with more weight on your body, did it affect you maybe differently going into those fourth and fifth rounds? Or did you feel a little more tired, or was it not necessarily just tired, and were there different elements in why she ended up getting to you in the fifth round?
So yeah, no excuses. The result is what it is. But leading up to that fight, I was coming off of a back injury,
Mm.
and that was our first fight that was supposed to happen in November of
Mm-hmm.
2018. But just a few weeks before that, um, I had a slip disc in my
Wow.
back. One of it cracked. The L4, L5, something like that. And I didn't, I've had injuries before, but back injuries are super tricky and you can't really do
Mm-hmm.
much about it. You can't push through it. And so we ended up postponing the fight. And the next fight that we fought was in March. So because of my back injury, I kind of shied away from a lot of the running that I used to
Mm.
do.
Hmm.
I wanted to take care of it, and I didn't need to because I was fighting at
Right.
25. And so I don't think that my cardio was
Mm.
where it needed to be because I was trying to protect my back. So, I mean, it's not an excuse at
Right.
all, but that's kind of just the reasoning in my head. And I gave it all I had in the fourth round. I was really trying hard to finish that and cinch it in, the armbar triangle, but slipped out of my fingers. So I'm definitely make sure that's not gonna happen
Now,
again.
moving into the Michelle Nicollini fight, what about this matchup intrigues you, and what about you scares you a little bit, and things that you have to be a little careful with her? Obviously, she's like a fantastic Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner.
Yeah, so I'm pretty familiar with
Hmm.
Michelle. A few years ago, she was living in
Oh.
Singapore, and she was part of the Evolve Fight
Mm-hmm.
team actually. So yeah, I've trained with her maybe a few times though, two or three times, and I know all credit to her. She's earned her titles in the jiu-jitsu world. But like I've been saying, I mean, jiu-jitsu is completely different than MMA, and I saw this video that came out. One championship posted of her saying that I beat her up in sparring. Look, I train hard. I train hard all the time. And I just think that, coming from a jujitsu background, it's not going to be too pleasant getting hit in
Mm-hmm.
the face. So, I mean, they're trying to make like there's this grudge. I mean, for me, I'm just trying to take the emotions out of it. And it's just business at the end of the day. And it's a very unforgiving sport that we, you know, that we do. And not sure she's ready for that. So, we'll see.
What are your thoughts on that? Because I actually talked to your brother a few weeks ago, and we talked about his background in training with Shinya, but that was much more in depth. Is that something that at all bothers you, or is it just like you said, 2 or 3 times you guys train together? It just is such a minimal amount. The fear, like some fighters have, of fighting someone they train with is not there. They didn't see enough of your tricks. You didn't see enough of her. Is it really kind of a non-subject then because it was so minimal?
So it's kind of with Evolve, there's some fighters that train entirely out of that gym, and then there's some fighters who have like split gyms. Like my brother and I, we train out of
Mm-hmm.
Hawaii. We're based here now, but we represent two gyms. So we represent United MMA Hawaii and Evolve. So most of my training, maybe when I first started in one championship, I moved to Singapore for a good
Mm-hmm.
2 years, and then once I met my husband, we moved back home to Hawaii, and then I based my training out of Hawaii. So I've been there for the past 2 years, um, and it's been great. So when they say it's teammate versus teammate, it is and it's not. So we both used to represent, or she used to represent Evolve. I'm not sure if she still, but yeah, maybe two or three times that we
Um,
trained together.
Now
That's
you are in a unique position where you haven't even fought your next fight yet, but already know your next opponent, which is unusual in the MMA game. It will be, like we talked about Jiangnan again in the rematch was a big deal. This time at Atomweight, is it at all hard to focus on Nicolini at all, knowing that there's this big fight, there's a revenge fight that you really want to get that W back, and is it hard
Mhm.
to not overlook? Obviously, you're a professional. You're gonna handle this like a professional. You're not gonna overlook her. But is there part of you like, I wish this? I can't wait till this fight's over. 'Cause I want to get to that one. That's the one I really want.
To be honest, it was a surprise to me, because I knew that after the fight in March, I knew that we were gonna meet up again. Just didn't know when or where. And when the news broke out about One Championship's 100th anniversary fight in Tokyo later this year, that I would be headlining it, it was like news to me. I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's happening. And but I didn't have any complaints, and it didn't really shift my
Hmm.
focus too much because I kind of in the back of my head I knew that we were gonna have a rematch again. I just didn't know when or at
Mm.
what weight. So I was always prepared for it. But yeah, regarding this Friday, it didn't take my focus out at all. I still actually have even more motivation to finish the fight and to finish it
Mm-hmm.
well now. So, yeah, hopefully after everything goes according to plan, rest up a bit and get ready for October.
You are going to have, you know, the rematch like we talked about at the 100th event, like you perfectly just mentioned. You were featured fighter in that same event on the New Era event. Do you feel a responsibility and a pressure almost, because without a doubt the organization has placed you as one of the key faces of the promotion and of the female side of the roster? Do you relish in being in such a position at just 23 years old? Do you feel a mounting pressure because everyone's just, as every year goes by, you getting more and more attention and you're a bigger star? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you love it and hate it?
Um, I feel like since I joined One Championship, I've always put this certain like expectation for myself to perform to the best of my abilities. And I think that's the kind of standard that I hold myself to. And it's, of course, I appreciate all of the support from the company and from the fans. Um, but I never look at it as a negative pressure. I mean, if I thought about it and I thought about how much it meant, I think I could get overwhelmed a bit,
Mm-hmm.
but instead I just, this is I feel like what I was meant to do, and I'm so happy and grateful that I'm able to do a job that I
Mm-hmm.
love. So I just try to keep it simple, keep it real, and stay grateful always.
Now, I asked your brother this same question a few weeks ago. I mean, it's unheard of to be a sister brother world champions in MMA. I mean, probably honestly, just combat sports in general. What does that mean to you to simultaneously hold a world championship in a major organization with your brother? Both of you are under 25 years old. Like, what is that like? Like, I mean, you're a historic sibling pair. Like, what does that mean to you and your family?
Um, for me, I'm so incredibly proud
Mm-hmm.
of Christian, and since we were little, we used to compete in all the, kid tournaments and training and stuff like that. Um, but we always talked about traveling the world together and, doing this as our job and, just competing and that's what we're doing now. As we grow older, we always did everything together. We were like kind of inseparable like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because some people are like, is their bond really real or is it all
I
is
asked
it
him
just
too.
fake?
I asked him
And then,
too.
I'm like, no, man, you can't really fake that. And it's just how we were brought up.
Mm-hmm.
And training all the time, we are like best friends, training partners, like everything is what it is. And I'm just super happy for him and so happy that we can be on this journey together and do it side by side. We can relate to each other 100%,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I mean, history was made, and it's not going to stop there. So we're just really excited about it. I think our journey has only begun.
Now I asked him, and he's super nice guy. You know, maybe he's being nice. You're super nice. Maybe you're being nice. But every brother and sister have something they don't like about each other. Like he said, you guys don't have anything because you train together. You're too damn tired to really care about that nonsense. Is there something about Christian like I can't stand he does that? It's bothered me since I was a kid. Something. He seems too perfect.
You know what? Um, to be honest, when we were growing up, I'm 2 years older, so I'm the
Mm-hmm.
older sister,
Mm-hmm.
and I was always like, I was the bossy one with a temper, and he was the nice guy. He was just the sweetest kid,
Mm-hmm.
and I was always telling him, Christian, do this, Christian, do that, and then like I would always be so competitive, and up until like 13 years old, I would still beat him in training and things like
Mm.
that. But he never held a grudge. Then one day he just got too big and too strong, and he just knew it, and I knew it, and I was just like, damn, like. But he never held anything against me,
Yeah.
and that's the thing about Christian. He's just really got a heart of gold, and um, I have nothing bad to say.
Well, I had to ask him about like the growth of Hawaiian MMA, and both of you are part of that, like really putting it on the map, but in a different way. Like I've talked to Chatrice Youngtong a couple times, and the last time he talked about the plan was to maybe do a one event in New York, which for a person like me that's in New York, fantastic. I hope it happens. But logistically, Hawaii makes a lot more sense than New York. Has there been like, have you ever suggested it to the higher ups at one, or talked to anybody about it? Like one, Chatri, Victor, Kui, what? Let's go to Hawaii. We got to get to Hawaii. Hawaii's popular. Look what Bellator did. Any suggestions like that?
You know what? I've been asking them this since the beginning. I joined one time, and I was fighting. Then my brother started fighting, and there is a few people from Hawaii who are signed too. And I agree with you. It makes sense. It's right in the middle between the mainland U.S. and Asia, and I think that it would be a fantastic show. And I think that one championship coming to Hawaii. The people have never really seen anything like what one championship brings to the table, and it would just blow them away, and especially open up the market to the young up-and-coming fighters who are looking for a promotion out there to fight for. One championship is such a perfect fit. So I think it would be a great idea. I'm working on it. I'm trying really hard.
All right, so so final question. I always like to end interviews like to give people watching and fans of the fighter a chance to learn about them. I talked to Jordy Young from Bellator a couple of weeks ago. He likes Marvel Comics. That was a nice surprise. And I've talked to some people that like cooking and stuff like that. So you have a legion of fans that's going to continue to grow even bigger. What's something that you have a personal passion for, doesn't have anything to do with fighting, that your fans may go, wow, Angela likes that? I didn't see that coming. What's something that would surprise people that you love?
I don't know. For me, like, what you see is what you get. I'm a very down-to-earth person. I'm very authentic with what I put out on social media and stuff. So I feel like a lot of the people that follow my journey know a lot about me already. But I guess they know that I love my dogs. I have two two great dogs at home. I love to travel, and I actually love to take pictures too. That was one of my hobbies since young. I didn't get too much into it, with the fancy cameras and stuff, but I do have a nice Sony that I like to take with me on trips and just snap some shots and edit. Maybe if I wasn't doing MMA, I would go around traveling and taking pictures or something like that, trying food. But that's pretty much, that sums me up. Simple girl, that's it.
You seem like a good person. Now, to confirm to the world, so you are a dog person over a cat person?
Yes,
yes!
I am. I am definitely a dog person. I got American Bulldog and American Bulldog.
Nice.
They're the best. They're so much fun.
That's why you're the champ.